Hello everyone, and welcome to our second pre-Gemini full moon webinar meditation. Hopefully there's a little bit of interference here, and it has gone now. Hopefully it will not start up again. Last night we meditated on the keynote of Love Divine, and the keynote for the meditation tonight is resurrection. Love, resurrection, and contact. These are the three keynotes with which we will work. And then the full moon itself will occur on the 15th of June, and the GMT time for that is 8:13 and 34 seconds in the evening, p.m. So we will have actually a full moon meditation quite a few hours before that, and that will occur at 4 a.m. GMT on the morning of the 15th. But for now, let us continue as we build towards that time, and we will work with the energies of Gemini, with a portion of the last sermon of the Buddha, and also with the keynote of resurrection. So we begin together, withdrawing our consciousness from the personality and its vehicles. And we enter slowly into the sense of the soul. We find ourselves as the soul in incarnation, a point of being consciousness, looking out upon the worlds of personality from which we are abstracting ourselves. And we tune that world out, the three levels of personality, and bring in the sense of the presence of spiritual light, soul love, soul will, the sacrificial will. The soul is much nourished at this time, at this festival of love, festival of the Christ, festival of humanity, when the energies of love, wisdom are very strong. And we begin to merge ourselves with the sense of group soul, blending on the higher mental plane, at least imaginatively, with all fellow souls who are meditating at this time. The soul is group conscious, and we find ourselves together in that dimension, negating the ordinary sense of time and space. Wherever we are together. And we bring into our consciousness as well the soul of humanity, including all human beings in their soul aspect, whether in the body or out of the body. As if touching every member of the human race, realized in their soul aspect, including all. As the word reverberates through the silence, naught is but me. The one identity of humanity, beyond like and dislike, beyond the conflict of energies, the unity that substands all the dissonance. In the one soul. And we merge together again in that point of tension upon the mental plane, fed by the light of the soul. That point of tension so important in the building of the Antakarana. It draws the energies of the group personality up into itself. And from the realm of soul, the will aspect enters the group point of tension. And we contribute to this group point of tension with the will aspect of our own soul ray, the will to initiate for first ray souls, the will to unify for those on the second ray, the will to evolve for third ray souls, the will to harmonize for fourth ray souls, the will to act for fifth ray souls, the will to cause for sixth ray souls, the will to express for seventh ray souls. We feed the group point of tension with our own particular aspect of soul will. And using that point of tension and our creative imagination, we visualize the many strands of the group Antakarana as if rising towards a point of brilliant blue-white diamond light. Each of us building the Antakarana with the colors of our soul and personality rays, First ray red, second ray indigo, third ray green, fourth ray yellow, fifth ray orange, sixth ray rose or light blue, seventh ray violet. Through the creative imagination of the astral body and focusing through the point of group mental tension, we imagine the individual and group antikaranas rising cone-like towards the blue-white diamond, or penetrating inwardly towards the center of the sphere, on which we can visualize ourselves either way. The many colors of the group antikarana blending and fusing, and across the group rainbow bridge we project the word of power, thought with intensity upon the Om, a point of brilliant white light rising towards the blue-white diamond, the light rising, using the word of power, I see the greatest light. We have as a group imaginatively entered the world of wisdom and of spiritual will and of pure being, and we will stay in this alignment as we work through the different phases of the meditation. We have entered the world where the spiritual hierarchy can be found. We are as if in the presence of the members of the Great White Brotherhood. We attempt to feel their presence. And we offer our purposeful, heartfelt salutations expressing our solidarity with the great lords who are active at this time of the Festival of the Christ. And the Buddha is also active in collaboration with the Christ. And so our first salutation will be towards the great Lord of light and wisdom. Salutations to the Lord Buddha, the Lord of Light the Lord of wisdom. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters. At the time of this festival, which is uniquely His, salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we work most closely, the Master Moria, Master Kutumi, and Master Chwalkul. Salutations to the Master Moria, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram is the most intensively involved in preparing for the reappearance of the Lord Maitreya. Salutations to the Master Chwalkul, who on behalf of hierarchy has given us the great teaching we study. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet, the Great White Brotherhood, the Society of Organized and Illumined Minds. We feel ourselves imbued by this presence, cooperating with the Lodge of Masters in these days of preparation, today being a day of aspiration, as we are told. And we carry our imagination still further. And we turn our imaginative thought towards the center where the will of God is known. And with deepest reverence and all humility, we attempt, identified as a group, to attune with the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of Shambhala. And we sound a long, silent Om as we imagine the group and the new group of world servers and all humanity imbued with his energy. The energy of divine will, of divine purpose, of divine intention. Shambhala, the planetary center, through which the constellations and planets are pouring their energy under the law of assembly, bringing monthly opportunity to the earth and to all sentient beings. These energies will be the energies of the three rulers of Gemini at this time. We will focus on them more intently Wednesday. Mercury, conveying illumination, relating the pairs of opposites. We can visualize the yellow glyph of Mercury. The planet of relationship. The star of conflict, yet reconciling conflict as well through understanding. The presence of the esoteric ruler Venus. We can visualize in the rose color or in the esoteric color indigo. Uniting through love, wisdom, the heart and mind. And the stream of our own planet, the hierarchical ruler, on which the angel and the animal unite to produce the human being. The purifying of this planet, the earth, carrying the energies of the moon chain and of the previous solar system, purifying to become the empowered base of the spine center in our solar system. And we are part of that initiation process. at this time. These three streams will be flowing into each of us and into the group, and we will focus on them intensively on Wednesday. But we see the three glyphs before us: Mercury, Venus, and the Earth. Realize the importance of this triangle, which in a way represents Mercury, the mind, Venus, the emotional nature, and the Earth, the etheric nature. The instruments of the constellation Gemini, as it brings relationship and spiritual civilization to our planet. And into the solar system in general. We raise our consciousness now to the Lord of Love Wisdom, the Blue Logos, present at the heart of every atom. A great soul of love. In whom we find our monadic home. The Blue Logos. Shining always with the energy of love, wisdom. And onward towards Gemini, the constellation bringing us the light of interplay. As the Tibetan describes it, this is a line of light beams, revealing that which opposes, or the basic duality of manifestation, the relationship of spirit and of form. It is the conscious light of that relationship bringing all opposites into rapport, bringing zodiacal opposites into rapport, soul and personality, spirit and matter. The light of conscious interplay, so that that which is above and that which is below may be merged in fact and in consciousness. Linking at this time all the pairs of opposites, increasingly under the energy of love wisdom. That we open to the feel of this Gemini energy, growing in power. The full moon is only 2 days away. Carrying the various rays, but especially the second ray of loving relationship, the ray of attractive coherency. At this time, the forces of reconstruction are powerful, bringing the possibility of rebuilding human civilization. It is not yet rebuilt. There is much cleansing, purifying to pass through, and then rebuilding along the right lines that Gemini will reveal as it links heaven and earth. The two pillars of Gemini, linking heaven and earth. Building upon the forces of restoration conveyed by Aries and the forces of enlightenment conveyed by Taurus. These are the forces of reconstruction. We can see this active upon the earth at this time, the hierarchical ruler. We wish to participate in this reconstruction using our spiritual understanding, our esoteric training. We wish to represent the angel, which Gemini is, bringing that angelic presence for reconstructive purposes to the earth. And in the alignment we ponder the mantram of Gemini. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. I, the individual, I, humanity, I, the group, the soul nature looks out upon the personal self, which wanes in its light as the soul becomes more radiant. I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. The Christ force increasing within us, the elemental force waning, surrendering to the radiance of the higher self. This, for us as individuals, for us as the group, for us as the one humanity, that the personality may wane and the presence of the Christ force as the soul may grow in radiance, overpowering the lesser self. We will build with this mantra towards the moment of the full moon, where the fullest possible pondering will occur. The Christ and the Buddha, within this stream of Geminian, solar, planetary energy, we turn our attention to the two great lords, the Christ and the Buddha, realizing their brotherhood as they represent the West and the East, and are bringing about the spiritual union of these opposing hemispheres into a great unity, a great global unity. Two great saviors of humanity, serving Shambhala, serving the Lord of the world and his intentions. Their cooperation is unfathomable to us, beyond imagination. But some of the sections in externalization of the hierarchy do reveal the amazing ways in which they have been working together. They stand, in a way, for us, for the constellation Gemini, the two brothers in the light. The Buddha being one of the great forces supporting the Christ at this time, along with the Spirit of Peace and the Avatar of Synthesis. And with these great lords in mind, we will go on with our preparation for the day of the full moon itself, when the Christ preaches, we are told, the last sermon of the Buddha before the assembled hierarchy, and before the hearts and minds of all human beings. So we will move towards that by pondering one of the important sections from the last sermon of the Buddha. He speaks of the true disciple. While subject to sensations, let him continue so to regard the sensations that he, being strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful, may, whilst in the world, overcome the grief which arises from the sensations. While subject to sensations, let him continue so to regard the sensations that he, being strenuous, thoughtful, and mindful, may, whilst in the world, overcome the grief which arises from the sensations. You ponder these words. Review our life and see the manner in which we are subject to the sensations, but how through strenuousness, thoughtfulness, mindfulness, we can overcome them, overcome the grief to which the enslaved consciousness is subject. We can resolve to do so. Because these sensations pertain to the lowest world. But of course, the Buddha would extend the idea, just as the senses are extended. In the three lower worlds, these senses have their counterparts. And grief also arises from them in the three lower worlds. And through detachment from these subtler senses, the grief related to them must also be overcome. When the soul is in its own world, cognizant of itself, as the unified point of being consciousness, it can, through disidentification and detachment, overcome this second form of grief. And replace it with the joy of the soul. We will build towards this last sermon in its entirety. And we extend our profound gratitude to the Lord Buddha in Shambhala for all he has done to illumine humanity, spreading the ancient teachings so well guarded by the spiritual elites, making available the teaching to all humanity. The realization of the livingness of the Lord Buddha then and now. And we turn then our attention to the Lord of Love, this being his festival particularly, and by an act of the creative imagination, we listen inwardly, imagining with the inner ear that we hear the Christ sounding the great invocation, and we allow for a period of the silent absorption of this inner sounding. On each of the 3 days of preparation prior to the full moon, the Christ is said to speak the great invocation alone. Yet in the presence of hierarchy. Again then, listening inwardly with great care. This time we imagine the Christ and the entire hierarchy intoning the second stanza of the great invocation from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. We listen deeply as if hearing the Christ and his masters intoning the second stanza. We contemplate the deep significance of these words, especially when empowered by the Christ and his masters, a deep sense of the reality of their intoning of this stanza. We sense the tremendous will to love, the will behind these words, as hierarchy intones them. And in line with this verse, we imagine the love of God pervading humanity and the planet. And we see a human race characterized by right human relations, and our planet expressing its great second-ray soul in this second-ray solar system. The love of God pervading all the planet. Bringing about Shambhala's intention for humanity, right human relations. The great and conquering love of our planetary logos, and even more deeply of our solar logos. All these, the Christ and his hierarchy representing and in the flow of this divine love, we ponder now the second keynote of the second preparatory day, the keynote of resurrection, as the Tibetan says, emphasizing the new note of livingness, of the living Christ, and of that life more abundantly which the wars, privation, and suffering have made possible by forcing a return to real values. The keynote of resurrection, emphasizing the new note of livingness, of the living Christ, and of that life more abundantly now made possible because humanity is being forced to return to real values. This is the theme of the seventh initiation, which is taken when Gemini is powerful, the high point of love reached by any world savior, including the Christ. Livingness and resurrection. The joy of a true livingness, infused by the cosmic ethers to which Gemini is related. The eventual bliss of true livingness, to be experienced by a resurrected humanity. And as we begin to breathe in as a group, the energy of the highest of the cosmic ethers, some intimation of what the resurrected life can be, may come to us. The true livingness of the resurrected life. Our response to this coming life more abundantly, fed by Aquarius into Shambhala and into all spirits and souls. Life more abundantly growing as a sense even in the consciousness of the personality. How may we individually and as a group express this new note of livingness, this coming note of life more abundant? livingness in the midst of conflict and oppression and uncertainty, livingness in the midst of ignorance, in the midst of wrong human relations, but the promise is there. And joy cometh in the morning. Resurrection into the sea of fire, the purest form of God's will and love upon the cosmic physical plane. This is the fate of all human beings, and eventually the entire kingdom of humanity, resurrected into true livingness and life more abundant, as expressed within the highest levels of Shambhala. This is the destiny. And this we can begin to cultivate under the impression of Gemini. We affirm our solidarity with the Buddha, the Christ, the assembled hierarchy. As a group, we seek to identify with them, to merge our purpose in their purpose. And when this merging is done, into their purpose, into their will, we begin to live above and through the pall of the three lower worlds. We imaginatively merge with them, and we bless the world in silence within this Geminian solar planetary alignment. United with them, we bless the world. From a high point of realization, imbued with higher purpose, higher will, we bless the world with the hierarchy. We sound our blessings on the single Om. We pause for a moment of appreciation of the illumined, loving energies of the constellation Gemini. The oblong square among the stars, a symbol of the great second ray. And we feel ourselves imbued with these energies growing in strength as the full moon approaches. and as if in union with the Christ, the hierarchy, and all the disciples in the world, in the state of soul, we will sound together aloud the second stanza of the great invocation, sensing the manner in which hierarchical love leads to life more abundantly and to the resurrection of the Spirit in full livingness. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men, and may Christ return to earth. Oh. Friends, our point of tension is building day after day as we work together with these keynotes. Tomorrow night at the same time, 9 p.m. GMT, we will work with the keynote of contact, the third keynote, love, resurrection, and contact, and another segment from the last sermon of the Buddha. So let us continue to hold these energies. The moon will shortly be going into Sagittarius, creating the beginning of the full moon alignment. Another few hours. We should feel it with increasing impressiveness. So I thank you all who have attended for tonight's meditation, and I will make this webinar available in audio and hopefully video form as soon as I can, and you can download it at the link which I will send to you, and also later on the Makara website. So for the moment then, wishing you good night, good day, good afternoon, whatever it happens to be for you, and let us continue to build our point of tension, letting the energies of resurrection particularly animate us for the next day.